Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and the unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. In this episode, we talk with Paul DeRousselle, an NFL agent, attorney, and author. We explore his path from a small town in Louisiana to negotiating major NFL contracts, the failures that shaped his career, and the mindset that helped him keep moving forward. Paul also shares the story behind his book, Faith, Failure, and Football, and what it means to build a lasting legacy.
Hello, Paul. Tell me who you are and what you do.
How you doing, Scott? My name is Paul DeRousselle. I'm an NFL agent, and I empower champions to help craft legacy and stand on the three tenets of accountability, belief, and consistency.
How do you? So, for the kids out there dreaming about being an agent, right? How the hell do you do that? Like, how did you? First of all, when did you know? Were you in college? Or were you in high school? Were you in elementary? Would you know really young, or did you kind of choose this path later in life? Or how did that go exactly?
I'll say this, Scott. I think I always had the traits. You know, it's like I knew that I loved football. I knew that I loved sports. An interesting story my mom will tell you is I was maybe 6 or 7 years old, went to the Saints 49ers game. I'm from Louisiana. So, you know, you go to New Orleans, ate beignets that morning. It's a great day. We go to the team hotel. And my dad knew the GM for the 49ers. And I walked up to him. I'm like, hey, man, how y'all going to keep Steve Young and Joe Montana? Somebody going to get traded, right? So I was already thinking and processing football from a business side of things, maybe at 6 or 7. Grew up in a small town where people love football. Went to Southern, played college sports. So I was always enamored with the game and knew that I would do something in sports. I ain't quite know how I was going to get there, Scott, but the seed was planted very, very early that I wanted a life in sports. And I probably watched Jerry Maguire at least 374 times.
Oh my God! Yeah, it's funny. So I was talking to my wife a couple of weeks about you, and she's like, "He's seen that movie." Everybody, of course, he's seen that fucking movie. Of course, he's seen that movie.
Bro.
Everybody, every agent on the planet seen that movie 300,000 times, right?
Bro, and his crazy part is like, I'll be on a plane going to do agent work, and you know, you scroll and see.
Yeah, like,
there's 1 or 2 movies I'm always right. Watch Creed or Jerry Maguire, and I watch the movie every time as if I haven't seen it. But the crazy part, like the more you know about the agent business, you know how unrealistic that movie is in a lot of respects. I'm not gonna ruin it for y'all, but ain't no way, bro.
Right. Okay. So you knew it really young. At some point, you made the decision, right? And because it's kind of a high bar to be an agent, right? You have to be a lawyer, or what's the other requirement?
You have to have at least a master's degree or what they call 7 years of sufficient negotiation experience. Who knows what the hell that is?
It's a high bar, though. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to take an exam. It's a 50-question exam. Have to, lock in and do what you got to do. And, that's, I enjoy that level of having to lock in and be special.
So, okay. So at some point you're like, okay, I'm going to law school, right? You're like, did you make that decision like your third, like junior year, or did you know from freshman year you were going to go to law school eventually?
You want me to tell you the truth? I feel like
I do.
Law school is always something, like when you don't know what the hell you're going to do, you can just always tell people, yo, I'm going to go to law school. And that just gets people off of your back. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to go to law school. I didn't really start studying for the LSAT. Matter of fact, I didn't study for the LSAT. And I took the LSAT the night after my fraternity's Founders Day event. So I just rolled into the LSAT thinking, shit, I'm going to walk in there. I ain't got to study. I ain't got to prepare. Bro, I did terrible on the LSAT. Barely got into law school, terrible. And I learned, I'm glad I got punched in the mouth early though. I think had I rolled in there and not prepared and made a 160 or done something great on the LSAT, I think I would have approached law school like I could just show up and kick everybody's ass. And it in fact does not go like that, Scott. So I made the decision to go to law school kind of the summer. I knew I was going to do it the summer after I interned with Nike. I did an internship with Nike, and I'm like, I had an offer to work with Nike afterwards. I didn't like the pay. I said, you know what, I got to go do something that at least puts me in a position that if I do come back to Nike, I'll at least have another level of degree, or I'll have more to bring to the table should I return to Nike.
Right, yeah, you wanna have the leverage. There's no leverage when you're just some kid out of college, right? You zero the Nike's like, "Sure, here's 20 grand a year. You'll love it," right? You're working at Nike, and it didn't work, right?
Yep.
So you get through law school, and now in law school, are you aware yet that you're like, I wanna be a football agent"? Is that ever a thing yet?
It was some things that like me and some of my boys talked about in law school. The thing
Dreamed
about
about that, right? Like that, like, I mean, I dreamed about it a little bit, right?
it's far fetched, bro. So many people go to law school and say, I'm going to be an entertainment lawyer. Who do you know? Like, it was just like I said, it was something you said, but you didn't understand how it was actually tangible. Like, we had a sports and entertainment legal association. We went to the events, but I didn't know how it would actually, I'd be lying if I said I just had this grand plan. I'm like, listen, let me just go to law school, make top level grades. So at least I give myself a chance, right? If I'm at the top of my class, at least I can go to a firm and make some money for a while. So I have capital should I want to do something else. My thing, Scott, was like, I just always wanted to give myself a fighting chance, bro. And for me, finishing the top four of my class, it put me in positions. It opened doors for me, for sure.
Okay, so you're now near the end of law school. Bars coming up, whatever that may look like, right? And at some point, you obviously made the decision to, okay, I'm going to go try. Like, who was that first human that you represented?
Well, actually, it's crazy enough, Scott. The only reason I ever took the agent exam was because there was a kid from my hometown who I was very close with that was going to get ready to declare from the draft. He was at LSU, named Darryl Simon, real close friend of mine. That's my boy. The only reason I rushed and took the test because I was like, okay, I'll take the test. He's going to be my first client. It's going to be a great story. Eunice, Louisiana. He's going to get drafted. He didn't sign with me. He signed with another agent. So the reason I pushed to take the test so early was it actually was like the first failure of my career. So I didn't sign my first client until the next year, which was a defensive tackle out of Tulane. He went undrafted. I fumbled that process. I messed up that post-draft process, didn't send him to the correct team, allowed my emotions. I made some mistakes that first year. Mistakes I never made again, though.
But that buddy, in your book, you say about not when your buddy didn't go with you, it was almost the thing you needed. Like you needed for him to go, no.
I did. Because think about it, Scott. So many times in this world, when people don't choose us, you sit and feel sorry for yourself. Oh, he should have did this, or at the end of the day, nobody owes you shit. And I gave myself this talk like, you have to give people a reason to where you're undeniable in this business. I left too much. I just relied too much on the relationship. Oh, he's my homeboy. Bro, I didn't have nothing prepared. What do we do pre-draft wise? What's your stipend gonna look like? What's our plan? I didn't have a plan. And I learned real quick. And once I got my ass kicked like that, I said, you know what? I needed that. And I also needed that feeling of the embarrassment of my hometown. Like he had a draft party back in Eunice. I didn't go. I wasn't around people. It's like I was looked at as a failure in this business before I even started. But I needed it. Because once you fail and get punched in the mouth, you're not as afraid of it anymore. It's like, okay, the worst thing that can happen to my agent career has already happened. Let's move forward. Let's go get it. I ain't gonna lie, I felt sorry for myself for a while. Let me be honest. I was depressed for a little bit. I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Let's get better.
Yeah, you remind me a lot of a buddy of mine I went to college with, which is in that high IQ, like scary smart, but execution. Sometimes you have to get execution under your belt to get good at it. But but it's almost like the ego. Sometimes you step on your own ego a little bit and you fumble a little bit. Once you get your ass kicked enough times, you can become world class because you have the capacity to. Like you have it all. You have everything you need. You just need the damn motivation and and all the reasons behind it, right?
Think about it like this, guy. Michael Jordan. You familiar with basketball a little bit?
Oh yeah.
The Pistons kicked his ass 3-4 years in a row. And that was what he needed to get over that hump. Like every year, he came back and got better. And I think in business, in life, man, sometimes you got to taste your own blood. Sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth because that's really when you find out who you are.
I'm writing that down. Sometimes you got to taste your own blood.
You got to taste your own blood, or hey.
1 second, I gotta write that down. Hold on
Write
a
that
second.
down, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Jordan, what's crazy about him is like didn't he get passed up by his own high school basketball team? And he just sitting there, he basically practiced for 5 hours a day for like a year, right? He's like,
Came
I'm
back.
not naturally good. I outwork everybody around me, which is the reason I won. And there it is.
There it
Yeah,
is.
so I know, but that's the thing is that you had the talent and the ability. You just didn't have the time, I guess, the discipline to make it happen. So you get your butt kicked, you get the discipline, you find the discipline, right? You sign that first person, and for the first time ever, you would presumably get money back, right? What was that like? Because you think about all this is all a farce until you get paid, right? This is all bullshit. I mean, law school, undergraduate, all the shit that you went through doesn't mean anything up to the point that check cashed. What was that? How much was that? And how did that feel exactly?
It felt great to make money as an agent. Now, granted, you know, as a first-year associate at a law firm, I came out the gate at 24, 25 years old, making $160,000. That was my first. So I had experienced what a big check felt like, but never from sports. And you think about it, in the agent business, you're putting money out, pre-draft expenses, training. So it's a bit of a roll of the dice. And I had a second-round pick that year, pick 61 in 2018. And man, when I got that check, it was more a relief. I think it was a more relief than like, oh, let me go buy something. It was like, shit, I made my money back. I broke even. And it wasn't like, oh, I went and bought anything. It was just more when I saw that direct deposit, when he wired me that money, and it was a second round pick. So I think his signing bonus is public knowledge. So I'm not telling his business. But like my first check, it was like just lumps of like maybe like 70, 80,000, just bam, just hit your account. Like, yo, all right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm now break even for my law school. It's now zero. I'm now break the hell even in terms of how much money I put in.
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
You go right to your like college loan. You're like, it's $70,000.
And then the good thing though, Scott, I will say this, man. At Southern, the Lawson, and we kind of talk about it in the book, after my first year, I earned a scholarship. So my law school debt wasn't as crazy as a lot of people. So it was a true like break even, hey, let me go to, I think I took myself to Ocean Prime, splurged a little bit, even got the crab meat on the steak, Scott. That's how, I felt for a little razzle dazzle.
Surf and turf. Surf and turf. Not just surf, not just turf, surf and turf.
What you call it? Oscar style when they put like the lump crab?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. Because I mean, you feel like the richest person on the planet because you got zero debt at that point, right? Like
you go to Red Lobster, bring me the lobster. Bring me the lobster.
Right? That's fantastic. Yeah. Okay. So now it's rolling, right? You know there's blood in the water, right? You know there's probably a whale somewhere in the water, right? Yeah. So what now you're motivated, right? Now you got the skill set, you got the kung fu, you got you're sired, right? You're officially an agent, you're making money with it. Who is that second, third? Like how are you now fishing for these new players?
I think it changes because you have a level of confidence. When you've done it before, for one, it gives you the internal belief in yourself. But then there's the external belief because no longer, like when you're in these recruitment meetings, when people ask you, well, who have you signed? What have you done? You don't have to gloss over it and like you can directly address that question. So I already had the skill sets from all the years of getting no's. I can go in any room and be personable. I'm knowledgeable. I know what I'm doing. I know the areas. Like I already had the two, but now I have the validation behind it. So when that came, the next, you go you start stacking draft picks. You start getting better talent. You start finding these undrafted diamonds in the rough who are great players who you had low overhead on, but you made good money on because they play. And then they get these bonuses for being on the field and incentives and things like that. So for me, man, the confidence was already there. I just needed them to see. I just had to show the world some tangible proof of that I was who I said I was. Once that happened, once I did the 2023, the $100 million deal with Jeffrey Simmons, it was like, okay, you checked off that box now too, because you've negotiated a veteran contract, which was at the time the second highest defensive tackle position, the second highest paid at the position at the time in NFL history, right under Aaron Donald. You do that, Then you come back and check off that next box you come back with a Keon Coleman the very next year, and he was an absolute star off the field. So you're showing, we on TV for NFL.com, we're on Booking.com. So now you've checked off everything they could say about you, anything that your competitors could say about you. You're like, yeah, you start to make yourself undeniable, like I said earlier.
So I mean, any man in your position has had some ass kicking, because it's the only way we learn. Like people like you and I learn when we get our asses kicked a little bit. Like, that journey sounded perfect, but you and I both know it was an ass whooping halfway through and in the very beginning. Do you want to kind of address that kind of early days? Like, when was your first headwinds? Like, was it when you're like, okay, I got money, and I'm doing the wrong thing with the money? Or like, when did stuff get hard?
I think it got hard for me because sometimes, man, how you handle success, like how you can truly handle success, really is indicative of who you are as a person. I don't think I handled it as great as I could because I wasn't spiritually grounded. I didn't have that level of foundation to where, the things I'm doing in life, what is my why? Sometimes you lose sight of your why when you win. As you start winning, you just become addicted to, I want more, I want more. I have to take these next steps. I have to do this. I think I rushed my process. I didn't take the time to truly get better, not only as an agent, but as a human being. Like, why am I drinking? Why am I out so much? I'm not even focused on the craft. And I think it's human nature. Sometimes you start reading your own headlines. You think you're better than you really are. Like, nah, bro, let's go back to why we got into this business. Let's go back to the character, the competence, the consistency, how you were raised, who you want to be, what you want that to look like, the parents and other people. So I had to just break myself down, bro, and have a self-intervention. Because think about it, Scott. Anybody in the world can tell you how much you're messing up. But like Michael Jackson said, till you look at that man in the mirror and realize, who do I want to be in this business? Where do I want to go? And how do I sustain longevity? I didn't want to be a one-year wonder, a one-hit wonder. And that's the path I was on. I was on that path of I wanted to be a perennial success. Not just a flash in the pan, not just Milli Vanilli, a one-hit wonder. Like, nah, bro, like, no offense to Milli Vanilli, but I wanted.
I think they're both dead, by the way, but yeah. Okay.
My business acumen had to grow. How I interacted with people in the business, like, I started really, really holding myself accountable and saying, there's no shortcuts to greatness. You can't finesse your way through life. You can't chat GPT your way through it. A man has to face himself. You have to realize, who do I want to be? How do I lead other agents who are coming up after me? I want to be a pillar in this business. A pillar. I think I said that right. I want to be a pillar, bro. I don't want to be an agent. I want to be the agent.
Is there someone like, is there another agent in your life that you've seen at a distance? You're like, damn, that guy knows what he's doing. That is my model agent. Or is there a human out there that's like your model human?
God is my model human. He's not a human, but God is the standard, right? You want to be Christ-like in every facet, first and foremost. But professionally, yeah, I mean, Eugene Parker was one of the first Black agents ever. He represented Deion Sanders. He actually played basketball. He was a hooper. He represented Deion, Rod Woodson, Larry Fitzgerald. He was an attorney as well. I liked how he went about it. He carried himself like the consummate professional, but he'll bust your ass if you play with him. And I think he's the framework. Like, we're the progeny, all of us, like from Nicole Lynn to Vincent Taylor to Demarius Bilbo to Tory Dandy to you name those agents, they're lying if they say that Eugene Parker wasn't an influence. He's like the Michael Jordan. I'd say, you put him on the Mount Rushmore of agents, he's for sure up there. And he's somebody that I've long admired, just how he structured his deals. I studied him a lot. And, there's people in this business, even though they're my peers, I look up to them. You for sure. You're going to be inspired by them. I like how a lot of these agents are moving. And, you figure out your own style, who you want to be, take a little bit from everybody. And that's how I'm from Louisiana. I'm a gumbo. Just a bunch of different ingredients. And that's who I am.
Yeah, I mean, what is this? What do they say in art? The good, whatever, steal, something about stealing or whatever, right? Ultimately, it's like we are all a collection of kind of role models, people we see at distance, things we came up with, our parents, mom, dad, uncles, everybody, right? No one make everybody. Oh, I'm a self-made product. No, you're not. You have family. Someone brought you along the way. You got pulled. You had a pastor. You had someone that cared about you at some point in time. No
Hey,
one's their
bro,
own mountain.
it's bullshit when somebody, there's no
It is
such thing as
bullshit.
self-made. We're all a culmination of all our experiences. I've learned stuff from college dropouts, or honestly, from drug dealers or people who are on drugs, with some of the people who would see me and say, hey, bro, don't waste your potential. I believe that you can learn something from everybody that crosses your path if you're humble enough to receive it.
Let's talk about the book for a second. I'm going to put it on the screen if I can here. And I think I've got a couple of versions of your
Man,
of
that's
your.
crazy. Look at the book, man. Hold on, Scott. Bro, I
Yeah.
will never not put a smile on my face when I see that. Which is interesting.
So let's kind of talk about the kind of the whole. First of all, what was your thesis for the book, right? And then how did you just talk about this?
Can we talk about the cover first? They say never judge a book by its cover, right? No. I need you to judge this book by its cover, Scott. I think we need to talk about this. Shout out to my dog Nicholas, first of all, for helping this come up. Like the folks at Bright Ray, I gave them like my thought process. I said I want like an album cover type feel, right? So let's look at it, bro. You see, you got me in the suit. That's me. That's me. And serious, ready, elegant. You see me over my shoulder. There's little me. There's little Paul. In the backdrop, you see a church. That's my first Baptist church ever where I was baptized. And that's very important in the book because the prologue starts at that place. That's the football field. That's all so important. If you look at that vantage point, that is my exact view of the football field where I fell in love with football. The exact view. Those were our seats. 4 rows up, 50-yard line. That's why I first started to love the game. So everything is intentional on the cover. That's the first thing. I wanted you to know that.
So
as far as
the two streets, what are the two? So that's George and what?
Fred St. George. That's where I was raised. That's my street. That's my hood. Eunice, Louisiana. Fred St. George. Eunice, Louisiana. So it was a nod to my hometown, to my city, to my upbringing, and to the progression. And having little me over my shoulder is like I'm looking in a rear view mirror, and I'm always reminded of Lil Paul and the promises. There's a poem that says I got promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. That's the person that I'm keeping those promises to. Like I promised you this, dog. When we was 3-4 years old, everything we doing this together.
Who do you hope was going to read this book, and what do you hope they're going to take away from it?
Who do I hope? Everybody, Scott. We got to sell some books, But no, the book is one of those. I hope that young professional that's finding their way, that's maybe stumbling a little bit, searching for that purpose, understanding that we're not just our highlights. Like, don't just fall into that trap of looking at other people's wins and you know what I mean? And feeling like you're not enough. So that purpose for that person, helping look for that purpose, for that young man, for that young athlete, right? For that person at church who maybe lost their way in their faith, for that person who may be struggling with some level of addiction, depression, all of those things, man. The book has something. There's a little bit of something for everybody in this book. It's like I say on the back cover, it's not a how-to book. This isn't a book where I say, if you do things this way, you too can do 100 million. That's not this. It's a how-through book, through perseverance, through adversity, through accountability, through discipline, through the ups and the downs. You can walk into your purpose and be who God meant you to be, but it ain't gonna be easy, but it'll be worth it. And that's what that book is for, man.
So you ever heard of that was the quote, I think it's Theodore Roosevelt said that the comparison of joy, or so the comparison, no, the thief of joy is comparison, right? Like us comparing ourselves to other people, right, is the thing that kind of seals I don't know, I don't know, a little bit of our fire because why am I not there? Hey, have you ever experienced that kind of along the way when you were like looking, you're basically in your dorm room looking out, you're like watching the nice cars go by, you're like, fudge, one day I'm gonna get there, right? Speak to that a bit.
Oh, 1,000%. It's human nature. Even like in college, in law school, like people had jobs already waiting for them out of law school. Like, oh, their parents were lawyers. Or it's natural to fall into that trap. Even when you're at the law firm, you're not truly happy where you are because you're like, dang, the partners are doing this. So there's always gonna be that level of even as an agency, you're like, dang, I didn't have first round picks, they did. So it's so hard not to fall into that trap. So mentally, you have to have the resolve to understand that your path is your path. And it's like a snowflake. No two are exactly the same. Everybody's journey is different. And I had to stop, diminishing my own wins because they weren't as massive as other people's. You know, everybody, those small wins add up. And you have to stay the course and understand that this is my journey. I might not get it in year 1. It might happen year 10 for me. It might happen year 12, but I'm gonna stay the course. And I think the book does a great job where I talk about my wins, but I'm very, very transparent about my losses and the dark spaces that I went to because I know that that's a true story, bro. It's a true story that you're gonna have ups and downs. There's gonna be ebbs and flows. And I really, really wanted to make sure I pointed that out to the reader.
Everybody only sees what do they say, the overnight success like happened. It took 10, 20 years, right? But everybody only sees you know the nicer car. They see the watch, they see the whatever. They don't see the 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning, up until trying to burn the midnight oil to make it happen. They don't see any of that. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, people haven't done it.
It takes 10 years to be an overnight success. People don't understand all the no's, the times you went to the combine with no clients, the moments where you look at that direct deposit is not directly or depositing, it's not direct and it ain't depositing. So uh, the moments where you doubt yourself or you question everything, like, oh, why the fuck do I want to do this? Why? And then those seeds of doubt, it's inevitable because you start thinking, well, damn, like all this percentage of agents that have no clients. Am I just one of those? Or am I an outlier? Am I the one? And that's where the loud voice, this voice, the positive and knowing who you are, you gotta go force this side to dissipate. Absolutely.
Let's talk about what it takes to be an agent for a moment, right? I don't think it's for the faint of heart. It feels like a bunch of sharks inside of a shark pool, right? Because you've got to you've got to be almost brave to the point of dangerous, right? In terms of like almost delusional, right? You've almost got to be, and then you've got to have the somehow wherewithal to say no to these giant checks, these giant numbers, knowing it's the best thing for your client. Your client's like, dude, what are you doing? That's a ton of money. Like, dude, you can get 20%. Like, what does it take to do this?
Obviously, it takes a certain level, like you said, it takes a level of confidence, but the confidence comes from the preparation. I think if you love your craft and you want to be special, and that's in any business, when you know it backwards and forwards, you have the confidence and the conviction to say no because you have the empirical data, you have all this information to support why you feel a way. And I think that's one thing I learned from being a lawyer. A good lawyer knows the law, of course, but an even better lawyer knows their position and they know their case and they know the strengths and the weaknesses of their position. So me sitting through all these mediations, all the things I've done, being an attorney has actually helped because it created my mindset. It created where like, yo, I'm gonna be logical, I'm gonna be fair, I'm gonna be stern when needed be, but there's also sometimes you have to be willing to compromise. And I think as an agent, bro, you don't have to be one of these agents that's always banging the table and always, I've been in situations where I've had to take a couple of steps back, take my ego out of it. Because right, you get into a pissing match with $1 billion entity, which is an NFL, more than likely you're not gonna win. So you have to understand and read people, read the room, understand the salary cap, understand what the team wants to do. I think one of my superpowers as an agent even in this pre-draft process, I'm able to talk to the team about their situation. Because think about it. Human beings at the end of the day, we care about how do I win in this? So I put myself in the position of the team. Okay, this is their salary cap. And think about it like this, Scott. If me and you are negotiating, you respect me because you feel like, dang, he went through the process of caring about what I got. I'm like, look, bro, I know you're against the cap this year. I understand you got 5 guys on expiring deals. How can I help you? Let's look, at the end of the day, bro, yes, it appears this is supposed to be adversarial, but our common theme is you want to accrue good players, and I want to give you a good player. So how do we make this work? And I think for me, I'm not combative by nature, but I can be. Growing up where I'm from, we can do that, but I don't want that side to come out. I'm going into it with the mindset of like, this isn't a fight. Let's be collaborative. And when I did the big deal that kind of put me on the map, I took a couple steps back from my ego and my pride, and I said, okay, I understand where you are. I understand your position. Here's my position. Let's work together on this. And I think that's what I'm starting to develop. Because just because you're an agent, bro, don't mean you gotta be an asshole. And I think a lot of people on the outside, when they think agent, they think on the phone, no, I'm willing, I'm dealing. Bro, there's a way to be calm. There's a way to be cool. There's a way to be measured and calculated. You think about it, Scott. There was just a situation where the Bills owner said some quite negative things about one of my clients that went viral. And everybody in the world is expecting, like, you need to do this. You need to go on TMZ. Nah, man, we're grown men. Let me give you just because maybe I feel like you didn't operate appropriately, I'm not, 2 wrongs don't make a right. Let me get on the phone. Let's talk this through. And I think sometimes people are expecting me as a young black male with earrings and to be hot-headed and to be temperamental and to be like, nah, bro, I'm going to be measured. We're going to go about this the right way. I'm going to be the consummate professional in every setting. If I got to turn up, I'm going to turn up. I don't want to, though.
I guess it never occurred to me. Like, I guess it's obvious though. Right now, so let's pretend it's the Bills for a moment, right? I mean, do you sit down and like you open yourself a beer and you're like, okay, I got to go make it. Basically, go do a strategy, for this attack. Who's falling off? Who's hurt? Whose contract's expiring? How much money they got left? Is their back up against the wall? Did they win or lose last year? Like all these things, you have to sit down and basically kind of figure out, or are you just eating that as it comes? You are just kind of, let me square that away. Now I just know that. Or are you kind of doing your homework? And how does that work? What's your process?
My process, I mean, like I said, everybody has a different process. I'm me being an attorney by nature. I think I'm also a control freak to a certain extent. I have a level of anxiety. So being unprepared makes me anxious. It makes me nervous. So I like to take things. What do you call this? When you take it from a big picture analysis, like I look at things from a macro, or what you call it, a macro level first. All right. So if I'm negotiating with this team, who's in free agency? What does the free agency market look like? Right. What is the team trying to accomplish? What's the status of their general manager? Right. Because if their general manager is on the hot seat, he might be prone. He might not have the leeway to make certain moves. Like, for example, you're dealing with the Eagles. Howie Roseman can do whatever the hell he wants.
Or he's got to make a move, or he's on the hot seat, he's going to get fired. He's got to make a big ass move, and maybe he'll pay a little bit more, or a little bit less, right?
I wouldn't say knowing your opponent. I would say it's knowing who you're dealing with, understanding the team at every level, even in the draft process. What does this team tend to do schematically? How does your player fit? They run a 3-4 defense. He's an outside backer. It's you taking all of these things and you're writing it all out and just checking it off, bro. Making it make sense, understanding what they might do, understanding what they want to do. So if you're dealing with a team in free agency and you got a 30-year-old receiver, you understand that at 30, people tend to think receivers are going to fall off a cliff. So let me show you why not. Everything that I know, I have to go into knowing everything that you're going to say. And I got to have an answer. And it got to be a plausible answer. And I think I've just done well, bro, because I do my homework. And as you learned in the book and dealing with me, Scott, I'm very meticulous and I care about my craft. I care about my player and I enjoy being depended on. So if you're dependent on me, I'm gonna make sure that I for sure, if you wrote a check, believing on me, I'm gonna make sure that you get everything and more that you bargained for.
Paul, we're out of time. Man, it was really awesome talking to you. I'm so glad you did this. I'm glad we had a chance to kind of talk this out, man. You're an incredible human. And but you're not, I think you're just kind of in the, maybe you're like in the middle of your career. You just kind of, you didn't just start, but you're not near the end. You're kind of in the middle. So, well, obviously the whole world will be watching.
Nah, man, I appreciate you. Thank you for the platform. Also, just before we go, we mentioned the book a couple of times. Fake Failure Football is going to release on my birthday, but I really want to thank the folks at Brightway for helping allow this vision. Because at the beginning, it was just a vision. They helped me with the structure and just helped me to get better. Maddie and Emily, you know, I enjoy talking to them every other week. And, we hammered out Warren, Scott, and Nicholas. I just want to thank those human beings because they're great people. And they helped me do something that I know gonna make me cry every time I look at the cover and open it.
Paul, thank you for being awesome.
All right.